What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Invest Iowa. Today we have failing ads up in the house. It's also the face of Team IRG, one of the biggest teams in the Midwest.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Is it the
Midwest.
biggest in the Midwest?
Not officially the biggest in the Midwest. We're in the top 1% in Iowa.
Wow.
And we are in the top 1% in the United States within NAREP as well.
Well, that is kind of a big deal. So today I'm going to be asking Junior Ibarra, the owner of all these different projects, and Antonio Romero, who's been previously in the podcast, all those questions that led to where they are, including how many times they failed, right? We're going to go through that journey. It's important you guys stick around because it's somebody who I consider has been really successful in the real estate world. So all we can do is be sponges and absorb all the knowledge that this guy is going to pour into us in this chapter. So thank you so much for coming here, guys. Appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you for the invite once again. You know, I had a great time last time, so I'm excited to dive deep into different topics of failing ads up, and also here with Junior. You know, we have a pretty cool little journey of how we met and how we're partnering up in various different ways to continue to grow together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we're business partners in the podcast and partners in the real estate world. And so, yeah, there's a long journey, behind that whole story, and love to get into it all.
Okay, could you give me your elevator pitch of who are you guys?
Yeah, definitely. So, first and foremost, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and then I'm a businessman, So I'm in the real estate professional industry, yet I consider myself first a family man, big believer in the big guy upstairs, and he blesses us with just life on this earth in order to bless other people. So, and then, lastly comes actual business, which I have fun with a lot, in the day-to-day world, and we own a lot of businesses. So that's who I am. Everybody, like, my full name is Jorge Guadalupe Ibarra Gonzalez, but everybody, if you say Jorge, they're going to be like, who? But if you say Junior, they're going to be like, oh, Real Estate Junior. Yeah, we know who that is.
Gotcha.
Which is funny because, one of his business partners is actually his brother, right? So here at the office, we'll be like saying Junior all day, and his brother is like, he knows him by Jorge. It's his brother. He's known him always by Jorge. So I think it's funny because we'll be like, hey, we're going to go do this with Junior, and he has to do like that mental switch of like, wait, who? It's cool that you chose to change your name for real estate.
Yeah.
Junior. I know you by Junior.
Yeah.
I know you're Jorge, but nope, Junior.
Yep.
To me, it's Junior.
Yeah, same thing with everyone else. It kind of, I'm first generation, Mexican American. So I was born in Mexico. And
What's a first generation American?
Mexican American. I don't know if this is like the actual technical piece of it, but that's how I've always defined it, I guess. Meaning, like, I was born in Mexico, but was raised here since I was 4 years old in Iowa.
Got it.
So turned American citizen. So I have dual citizenship. I have Mexican citizenship and American U.S. citizen. So, and my parents, their whole lives, they were in Mexico, right? So that's what I consider, again, first generation Mexican American. Right?
You're first generation too, Antonio?
I think technically, right? Because all my family's from Mexico, and I was the first generation here in the U.S. So I think I technically am.
I don't know. I would define you as second generation since you weren't born here or born in Mexico.
I was born in the U.S.
Yeah.
I didn't migrate.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Yeah. That's, and so I've defined it as first generation immigrant American,
Yeah.
Whatever title you want to put on it, it's whatever you want to call yourself. But that's how I guess in my world I've defined it. Like people, if your parents came here and migrated here from another country, they're first generation. The next generation is those that were born here. Right. That's how I've always defined it. So, but yeah, my parents are originally from Sinaloa, Mexico.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Let's jump a little. Let's talk about failing at sub.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. So again, this whole journey, this whole time, there's been a lot of failure, right? So I actually am an engineer by trade. I went to school at Iowa State University for engineering. Did engineering for some time. Didn't like it. Luckily, got introduced to real estate many years ago. Now, 13 years ago, now that I like think about it, right?
How old are you?
35.
35.
Yep.
13 years ago.
Yeah, yep. And so that's when I first got introduced to real estate while I was still an engineer, and I started buying real estate. And about 10 years ago is when I started buying real estate. So a lot of failure along that path. And, since we're just, forwarding to like failing adds up, one of the things I've learned through a lot of those failures, transitioning from engineer to real estate entrepreneur was that, and through my mentors, they've always taught me that partnerships are successful, right? Just like a marriage is a partnership, right? You end up marrying your best friend because you enjoy hanging out with them. And then you ride through life with a true partnership. And it's more responsibility, but those responsibilities are kind of what help define your life, right? That's the same thing with kids. I have 3 little kids. My wife's name is Trish, and I have 3 little kids, Max, Lucy, and Xavier. And those are huge responsibilities, the biggest responsibilities in your life, and a lot of work. I love them to death. They're a lot of work, yet those responsibilities like make life worthwhile, right? And so my mentors kind of have taught me that partnerships are the same thing. You end up like leveraging each other's strengths because you're never the best person. And if you are the best person in the room or the smartest person in the room, you're doing life wrong. That's what they told me. So through time, I've been able to I really love like looking at people and how talented they are. Because I'm like, oh man, that guy's like 10. Like my business partner, Ryan, he's like 30 times smarter than me, right? At least. I think every year it goes up 10%. So I think he's 40 times smarter than me at this point. And so we're partners in a lot of stuff. And so, and I love like mentoring and just like my mentor, who's a lot older than me, he took me under his wing and he told me, Junior, I'm going to help you. I'm going to partner up with you. I'm going to help you become a millionaire. And that changed my life forever. And so I've taken on the same philosophy where like when I saw Antonio, like he immediately like sparked, like this guy is hyper talented because I first met him when you were 19?
I was 19, yeah.
I was like, this guy's 19 and he was already doing his own podcast.
So yeah, at that time I was doing a podcast with so I was in real estate doing both things. And I was doing that podcast with another fellow realtor at the office. So, yeah, it was kind of crazy how it all connects back together.
You were at a bar realty group.
No, so that's when I first got into real estate. I was a solo agent. So I was still under the Keller Williams umbrella. Mm-hmm. So I was at the Keller Williams in Ankeny. And Team IRG is based out of the Des Moines Keller Williams. So, yeah, I was working solo.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, right, and just kind of reminiscing,
yeah.
I went to go teach a class about investing in real estate to all the agents, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's kind of it's a funny, cool, crazy story because I was a solo agent, 19, like just trying to figure out this real estate career, trying to figure out my life, and I would always. So Keller Williams has a bunch of training classes, and they do it throughout the weeks. So they usually publish like the calendar of, what classes they're going to have that week. So I remember that at that time, I was just attending like all the classes, just trying to learn as much as I could. And one of the classes was Junior's class, but kind of just taking some steps back is I was getting not necessarily mentored, but I was getting coached by like their in-house coaching program there that was ran through another agent. And, I would do some showings with her. I would go to do some open houses, things like that, just trying to learn. And I remember that during that time, anytime I would meet with any realtor or anyone in the real estate industry, one name kept popping up. And it was always Junior Ibarra. And one of the main things that was always said is like, he's a great guy. He has his own real estate team. They're a bilingual real estate team. And when I was getting into real estate, I knew like down the road that was something I wanted to do. I wanted to create my own team. Now, fast forward, I'm here to continue to build Junior's vision and continue to build Team IRG. But at that time, I wanted to create my own real estate team, and I wanted to focus on it being giving those bilingual services. So I just remember that his name kept popping up, and during that when I actually looked at the calendar, I saw Junior Ibarra teaching an investment class. And if you guys remember from the other podcast I did, the other episode, I talked about investing a little bit, how I want to get into that. So I was like, I need to attend this class because I've heard his name at least 20 times at this point, and I've been in real estate for like 3 months. So the day of the class, I remember I had a huge headache. And I was like, damn it, I'm going to miss this class. Like, I've been waiting to go to this class like all month. I can't miss this. And I was like, all right, I just got to get up. I just got to go do it. Like, let's go to this class. But like, I don't really get headaches. So this is like a really bad headache that I had. And I was like, whatever. So I ended up going to the class, and yeah, Junior and Ryan, they end up teaching this investment class. And towards the end of the class, they're like, okay, open to questions. Anyone have questions at this time? And I just remember like the room was silent. I'm like, how are these people not asking questions? Like, he's literally teaching you what to do. So I just started asking questions. And after that, once the class wrapped up, it ended. I remember people were like walking out and leaving. And while Junior and Ryan were kind of getting their things prepared to leave, I remember going up to him because I've just always been the person of like, one, I love to connect with other people. Two, if I see an opportunity, I'm going to take it. And like, I'm just gonna go say hi. Like, it doesn't hurt to just connect and network with someone. So I remember going up to Junior, and I think I said something along the lines of like, hey Junior, my name's Antonio. I just got into real estate. I'm 19. I'm doing a podcast. I'd love to have you on the show. And I think you were just like, yeah, let's do it. And we swapped contact information at that time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. First, when he came up and he said he was 19, I'm like, bro, you're like 27.
I look old.
Beard.
I look old.
He does.
And like my beard wasn't this full, but still, man, look at all the stress on my face. I do look old, and I was like, it's kind of helping me.
No, it's the
look
beard.
old.
It's the beard, man. So I was like, whoa, dude, this guy's 19. That's awesome. But yeah, immediately, like, I'm like, he's got a podcast. I actually don't know anyone personally. Those were the thoughts going through my head when I first met him. It was like, I don't know anyone that's actually doing a podcast right now. And the first person I meet is 19 doing their own podcast. And I listen to a lot of podcasts. And
Bigger pockets.
Yeah, Bigger Pockets, Get Rich Education, Think Like a CEO. So a lot of like, content, real estate content and leadership type content, things of that magnitude. So I was just impressed immediately. And then we actually, after we connected, we found a date to actually do the podcast. And it was him and his partner at that time. And, we did the podcast, and it was just very easygoing. He had a very natural persona, natural personality. The podcast was very smooth overall. And then we just hit it off. Our energy clicked right away. We met like multiple times after that to like, one, I was like, anytime I see talent, I'm like, man, can I help them, and can they help me? Kind of like my mentor. He just saw, like, one of the reasons he's been retired for like 15 years. Like, he retired in his late 40s, I think, or when he was 50, somewhere on those lines. And he's like 61 right now. And so he says one way he stays young is he surrounds himself by young people that have super high integrity that he could partner with, to do business with, and so that he can share his knowledge. And so that's kind of, I literally follow in his footsteps, like, and he believes in partnerships. And one of the things I've learned over the years is like, kind of like along those same philosophies is, I'd rather have 25 to 50% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape. Right. And so that's kind of the philosophies of partnership. So through those meetups and conversations, I just started kind of asking Antonio, like, what are your goals? And through those conversations, what I look for is like, do they talk about the similar values? So faith, family, then business. And he talked about his mom and his parents and the sacrifice and how he listens to all this content, all these podcasts and all these motivational videos. And I'm like, man, we align. And so then that's because it's very rare for me to like say, I want, like, hey, let's talk about the team. Because I always actually tell people, man, go out and try to do this on your own. and then let's maybe talk about the team, because I want to actually see like there's 95% of all real estate agents fail within the first 3 years because they all join real estate for all the wrong reasons. It's flexible. I can do it on my own time. I'm my own boss. Those are all myths. You know, like the successful agents have a routine every single day. They actually treat it like a job. They they are earning the job to work with others, so they don't have flexibility. You have to help others during the time that they have available, right? So through those conversations, I was like, man, this Antonio just has so much talent, so much persona. And so we just kind of started talking about partnering up in real estate, right? And so that was kind of some of those initial conversations. I don't know if you want to hit on kind of what your takeaways were in the beginning. That's how I remember us starting to talk more about business.
Yeah, and for me, like I've always been a true believer of like everything happens for a reason, and everything happens at perfect timing too. And
you think everything happens for a reason?
Yeah, 100%. Like literally, there's a reason for everything. And like I'm not super religious, but I do believe that there's a higher power, that there is someone overlooking us. And I'm not saying you have to be religious to believe that, but those are my beliefs. Like I really do think there's a reason for every single thing. And I just remember at that time it's like, I was putting in all this work. I was doing like 2 open houses on Saturday, 2 open houses on Sunday, and then I was working Monday through Friday. I remember being like one of the only agents at the office. I'm like, I'm 19. I'm trying to learn. Like, there's no one here. Like, they weren't treating it as a business. And, I remember just grinding, like being there from 8 in the morning all the way until like 6, 7 p.m. And that's not because I had to. I was just trying to do everything under the sun that I could to try to, build my business. So at that time, correlating back to everything happens for a reason, there's timing for everything, is I just remember like putting in all this work and just almost feeling like, wow, well, like I'm coming to the office, but I don't see anyone here. If I have a question, like what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to learn? And it just happened to be like during that time is when Junior and I met, and just hearing him talk about his daily routine and what he does on with his team, how they help each other, how they support each other. I was like, wow, he is actually treating this like a business. It's no game. It's not like, he has a schedule for everything, systems, tools. So it was just really cool to have those types of conversations with him. And, I just, I admire the guy a lot. So it was definitely cool.
Yeah, as I always tell young people, I always say, these 6 variables, so there's 6 variables that will solve almost any problem in your life, whether it's business or life. So on one hand, you have time, money, and energy. And on the other, you have talent, tools, and systems.
Oh, wow. That is facts. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. So if you really think about any problem in your life, whether it's personal or business, you can solve it either by investing additional time, additional energy, or additional money, additional talent, tools, or systems, or a combination of all of the above in some magnitude, right? So that's how you solve problems, right? And I learned that also as an engineer. I took engineering because I had to, and the best thing I learned about engineering is that there's a solution to every problem if you invest in any one of those 6 variables when you run across a problem, right? So if you see a problem, it could be a systems, a tool, talent, or you just need another human talent to actually do it better than you, and you need to invest time, money, and energy into solving that problem, right? So you can solve any problem with those 6 variables.
How? Let's take it back now to how do you get started with Team IRG?
Team IRG, the concept was, so when I was an engineer, I was, that's when I met, like, I'm also a believer in that everything happens for a reason. God puts people in your life, and you decide, but yet at the same time, he gave us the brain to like either take action or not take action, right? Like that's up to one's choice, a good action or bad action, right? Or take action or no action at all. So I met my business partner Ryan in 2010, as soon as I had just graduated college as an engineer, and they had interviewed 30 plus engineers, and they narrowed it down to us two, and they couldn't decide on who to hire, so they hired both of us.
Oh,
And so now we look back and we joke because we say, oh, they probably had one salary in mind. They divided it into two, and we're the two suckers that took it. Right? So, but again, a big believer, everything happens for a reason. Like I said earlier, he's at least 30, 40 times smarter than me. Yet I'm you could call the driver, right? Like I'm not scared to go out and just fail or get in front of 100 people or 1,000 people and figure out something to talk about, right? And that's not him, right? I usually go from 0 to 10, and then he reminds me that I forgot steps 4, 5, and 6. And we need this tool or this system or this talent to actually get to 10.
so you actually don't think like an engineer.
I do like the first 3, 4 steps, and then I want to get things done so fast that I want to skip steps.
Yeah.
Right. So yes and no. Right. I am an extrovert, and I like people. So anyhow, while I was an engineer, how I transitioned to real estate and the team concept, based on your question, was after college, I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I don't know if some of the followers, I know Antonio has read it, and it just changes your mindset and philosophy of like, oh my goodness, like maybe I didn't need to go to college, because 80%, or was it? I think it's 80. I heard this in a podcast actually, and Think Like a CEO. 80% of all the nation's wealth is tied to real estate. Either they bought real estate, or they own businesses and eventually park their money in real estate. And so I wanted to figure out how to get into real estate. And so that's when my business partner and we were doing so well inside the engineering firm. We were growing. We had our own paralegals, our own assistants, because we were doing so much business for the engineering company that we're like, what else can we do outside the firm? And so that's when we started buying properties, and we bought it the traditional way. So the traditional, by that I mean there's 2 ways of buying property. Typically, what I call the traditional way, when you put 20% down, like you buy a house, like say for all intents and purposes, easy math, it's a $100,000 house, and you want to buy it. You put 20% down and then leverage the bank for the other 80%, right? So you put 20 grand down and the other 80,000 you borrow from the bank, right? That's the only method I knew back then, until later in life I learned new methods to where sometimes I have $0 into a property, and I still get to buy lots of properties. So we bought our first 2 properties. We ran out of money, and we're like, now what? And I met this guy who happens to be the son of my mentor. I didn't know this back then, but he was the son of my mentor. But back then, his name's Steve, and we had bought one property from him. One of the 2 was from him, and he wasn't that much older than us. He was maybe 27, 28 at the time, so 20, like 3 years older than us or something like that. And then he showed us like 30 properties that he owned, and I was like, how the heck are you like 27, 28 years old and own 30 properties? And he's like, oh, it's because I do this method called the Burr method, and I buy them and fix them up and this and that. And I'm like, what the heck's he talking about? And I was like, how do you get all this money? And he's like, well, my dad, he's a businessman. He's taught me all the ways of how to make money. And I was like, man, like he was just speaking a whole new world that I knew nothing of. And one thing I was like, how do I do what he does? And I wanted to figure out a way to get into real estate. And so he ended up offering me a job. And I was like, why would I leave engineering to come work for you? Because I was going to earn 1/5 of what I was making as an engineer. I was going to go from making 6 figures to like 20 grand a year. And he's like, well, he ended up introducing me to his dad, who was one of his investors. He's like, well, you're young. When you're young, you work to learn, not to earn. Another big aha moment, right? Mm. And I was like, that's the first time I heard that too, And he's like, you could always fall back on engineering, but we're going to teach you how to make money in real estate. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I need to seize this opportunity. And so I went to my parents and my parents, and I was like, I want to quit engineering to go work for this guy. And they're like, you're crazy. No, you don't have our blessing. And I always want to get my parents' blessing, right? My fiance and now wife at that time was like, I support you. Like, you helped me through college, and now I'm a beautician. I cut hair, and she's like, we can live off my salary while you go pursue your dreams. Like, she was my biggest supporter, which is why she became my wife, right? Like, not only is she beautiful, but she wanted to support my crazy visions, right?
Yeah.
And so I ended up actually not taking the job for 6 months. I went back to engineering, but I was very unhappy. Like, I was like, what if? And so what really hit the nail on the head was within those 6 months, they let go of a lot of engineers. Like, people had been here 20, 30 years at the engineering firm that were making way more money than me. And guess who got all the work?
You.
Us young guys, right? For no raise or nothing. They're like, here's a 2% bump.
A quick promotion. What is it? A quiet promotion.
Yeah, right? And I was like, no, like, do I want to? And I felt so bad for them because I'm like, man, they had kids in high school, kids in college, and they all of a sudden had to just take whatever job they could because they didn't want to move their whole families to other states because engineering was more like down in the southern states or eastern states or in Alaska and things of that nature because I was in the oil and gas industry. So I told myself, do I really want to be here for the next 20 to 30 years and have that happen to me? Or do I want to take the reins by, I want to just move forward with it. So I finally came up with how to tell my dad to give me his blessing. And so I went back to my dad and I said, hey, Dad, remember when my mom said I got my analytical brain from my dad because he was an engineer too. He was actually a college professor. But in our country, it's not like the U.S. The U.S., if you're here, you did win the lottery because what you put in is what you get out in this country. In Mexico, it wasn't that. Even though he was a college professor, we could barely make ends meet. We lived in a very tiny house where if it rained, pots and pans to catch the water. And he left all of that when I was born because he wanted a better life for his family. And he started working first in California, picking watermelons, chickens. Eventually we landed in Iowa and he was working at slaughterhouses, meat packing plants, even though he's a smart engineer, right? So I told my dad, I was like, remember when you were an engineer? You gave all that up to go kill pigs for a living just so you can give my brother and I a better chance in a new world? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, I'm not going to that extreme. I still want to, quit engineering and pursue something, but I'm not leaving a country. I'm staying here in Des Moines, Iowa, and I just want to see what if. And if anything happens, I'll just go back to engineering, right? But you can't tell me that you did something crazier than that I'm about to do, because you did, right? So he's like, oh my God, son, you're right. You have my blessing, right? And so that's when I quit engineering. I told Ryan, I was like, I'm quitting engineering. And he's like, you're crazy. You first, right? So everybody's telling me I'm crazy. But I wanted to pursue that. And so I quit. I started working for those guys. I learned a lot. So we bought 60 properties in 1 year. With those partners, yeah. And they gave me a very small piece of the pie. I think it was like 5% at that time. Because usually when you partner up with people, the people that have the most knowledge and the most money own the majority of the company.
Yeah.
Right. And over time, I've been able to buy them out. And now I'm like on one of those companies, I'm like 40%, right? And eventually we'll just be 50-50. But they're the ones that put in all the money and all the knowledge to help me get started in those 60 properties. 30 stayed with them. 20 stayed with my company, which I owned a sweat equity, is what I called it, because I had no money. And I owned 5 to 10%, or 5%, and then they moved me up to 10% because they found how hard of a worker I was. But that was in 2013, going into 2014. So y'all are too young, maybe for this, but like I didn't know it either because I was in college. But like the real estate crisis hit in 2008 to 2010, right? Like the real estate market went down, and so 2013 there was still foreclosures on the market. So we were buying foreclosures that were on the MLS, and so it was really easy to find. So we were buying houses 60 cents on the dollar, buying them low, right? 60 cents on the dollar, fixing them up, and cash out refinancing. So again, look up the Burr method. There's like a tons of TikTok videos and YouTube. I won't get into what we do there, but we would buy it cash, rehab it cash, rent it, refinance, and repeat, right? That's the Burr method. And so we did 60 properties, 20 stayed with me, and then the rest stayed with them, so 40. And that's how I fell in love with real estate. But in 2014, the market shifted again, and this time it was just going up, and it's been on the up and up since probably the last year. And so the investor said, oh, stop buying houses. Like, they're getting too expensive. Hindsight being 2020, they were really cheap still. But they said stop buying, and at that point I didn't have a job because my job was to manage the rehab crews. They taught me how to manage contractors because I was bilingual. They weren't. They only speak English. I was managing contractors, so I would get in, figure out what it needed to do, and then I would check in on the rehabs once a week, because we were rehabbing anywhere from 4 to 7 properties at any given time. And when the market shifted, I'm like, oh crap, my dad was right. Like, they couldn't afford me anymore because we weren't rehabbing enough properties. So I almost went back to engineering because I got job offers really quickly. But I told my wife, by that time she was my wife already, I was like, oh man, I don't want to go back to engineering. And I was like, I made the least amount of money I've ever made and worked the most amount of hours I've ever worked, but I had fun. And for those of you that know me, and Tony knows me well, I don't make decisions based on money. I make decisions on relationships and am I having a good time? Because I feel like eventually the money just comes if you're doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do with the right people and the right partnerships, right? So she's like, she kind of, again, she's always been my biggest supporter. She's like, well, who do you know that's bought 60 properties in the last year? I'm like, no one. She's like, so what did you learn? Like, you could probably do something else, right, in real estate. And I was like, you're right, I could probably do something else. And so again, the way I like to find out how to do things is soak content in. So I started reading again. I was like, I took 1 month off before I accepted the engineering job, and I was like, what else can I do? So I started reading a lot of books, and just like The Rich Dad Poor Dad changed my life, then I read this new book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. They call it the Red Book. And I read that book, and once I start reading something I like, I don't put it down. Like, I don't sleep. I just read it until I finish it. And I read it, and I was like, this is a business in a book. It's telling you how to build $100 million team by following systems and models, which kind of adhere to the engineer in me. So I was like, I want to do that. And that's how the concept of Team IRG came to life. So that's when Team IRG came to life. And I said, you know what? I want to do what's in this book. And that's when I found out how to get my real estate license. My mentor told me to travel out east and out west to see how they're doing it, to copy paste, because everything in the Midwest happens 5 to 10 years later. And so I did. I traveled out east and out west. And one other thing I noticed, that there were teams that were thriving. Here there were only 2 teams, and they were doing really good. Yet there weren't multicultural teams, multilingual teams. And so the vision of Team IRG came to life in 2014 when I got my license in May of 2014.
And that's how it all started.
So maybe I gave too much, detail there.
No,
but
that's good. That's what we wanted to know.
Yeah, it kind of like ties it as to like, well, why did this guy leave engineering to pursue real estate?
Gives you that background information. That's the context of it.
Yeah.
I think the perspective that most people that are trying to succeed online is that you just see so many get rich quick. Mm-hmm. And then, like, when I sit down and I talk to the people that actually, like, have done things that I want to do, they had no idea what they were doing at my age. They weren't even in the field that they are now when they were my age.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's not enough information, and people is misled by all of that. So that is good. What you just explained, it's the perfect example that it takes time. Like, I think I'm going to become a millionaire tomorrow, and I want to become a millionaire tomorrow, right? But that takes time.
Yeah.
And it's not a reality.
Something Junior and I always talk about too, because in our generation, like you said, you want that instant gratification, and then with social media, like, you see, like, you're not seeing the behind the scenes, right? You're seeing the good things about it. And we always talk about how like success is boring. Like what we do on an everyday basis, it's not always the funnest thing, right? Like we make calls for 2 hours straight in the morning. Like, do you think we would rather do something else? But we know we're disciplined enough to know like what we have to do to be able to, reach where we want to go.
Yeah, it was funny this morning. I just overheard, or no, it was yesterday with Tara. She had mentioned how we post a lot of content on social media, and a lot of people tell us that, oh my God, your team has so much culture, so much energy, and all this. And someone asked Tara, like, do you guys ever work? And Tara's like, well, it's not like we're gonna post pictures of us making a call or doing paperwork.
Yeah.
So you only see the fun stuff, because that's I mean, we're having fun, we're taking pictures, selfies or whatever, and we're posting it out there. But yeah, we're putting in a ton of work, right? Like every single day. Like Antonio said, you walk into any brokerage in the morning, any real estate brokerage, what is it?
It's a ghost town.
It's a ghost town. Everywhere, right?
I've seen it.
You've seen it, right? So, and that's not the case with us. We know that there's a 3-letter acronym that I like to use called HEM, HEM, And I haven't used this in a while, but it just hit me. And it's habits, energy, and momentum, right? So what daily habits do you have? What level of energy do you have? And what level of momentum do you have every single day, right? And it all starts with your morning routine. What do you do when you get up in the morning? You brush your teeth, you comb your hair, you get ready, right? And yet most of the real estate agents or entrepreneurs that go, be just self, reliant on making their own income, I mean, most of them are like, I'll get up at noon or 1 o'clock, and
Watch some Netflix.
And
Run some
this and that,
errands.
right? Yet, one thing, just seeing my dad work 2-3 jobs his whole life, and my mom work 2-3 jobs her whole life, I got my work ethic from them, because they did whatever they needed to do, put food on the table. And my brother and I, when we were a little older, at first they worked nights and week, like one worked nights, one worked days, so that they could watch us. But as we got older, they both worked. So like, I took care of my little brother a lot because we were alone a lot, because they were working. You look back and you thank your parents for that sacrifice, right? But so I just wanted to apply that same work ethic. So kind of similar to Antonio, I thought, because the book says you need to make calls from 9 to 11 every day. So I said, you know what? I'm going to beat everyone to the office, and I'm going to get there at 7 a.m. and start making calls. So when I got my real estate license, the book says call everyone you know and tell them you're in real estate. So I started off, at Keller Williams, and I would get to the office at 7 a.m. on the dot. And I had my own key, and I realized, okay, I'm the first one at the office. Okay, people aren't going to show up till 9, right? And to my surprise, no one showed up at 9 either. And then no one showed up at 10 or 11. They started showing up at like lunch hour so that they could hang out and talk. I was like, how do these people make money? And, you soon find out that some of them are successful, but a lot of them end up leaving the industry. A lot of the people that I started with are no longer in the industry. Yet I stayed true to my daily habits of 7 to 11. I was making calls. And Monday through Friday, my goal was I had 3 little magnets, because the book says you need to set 3 appointments a week, right? I had 3 little magnets, a little black line down the middle, and I had to set business meetings to talk about real estate 3 times a week. And if I got to Friday and I didn't have all 3 magnets moved, I would punish myself and not go out. Like, I'd have all of my wife and I's friends texting us, let's go out to drink, let's go to the bars, like this and that. And I would be like, if I had my 3 appointments, I would reward myself. I would go out. And we would go out. If I didn't, I would stay till 10, 11 p.m. on a Friday, continuing to make calls, or I would go home early, relax, watch movies or go out to a movie or something, but then wake up at 6 a.m. and get to the office by 7 again, Saturday, until I hit my 3 appointments. Right? And so that was kind of the philosophy of how I wanted to grow the team and then partner up with the right talent, right? And so that's how the team evolved over time. We applied those same principles, and we've, my first year I did 48 transactions as a solo agent, just by working 100 hours a week, pretty much, literally 100 hours a week. I work from usually 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. or whatever, 7 days a week. And then eventually there was so much business coming in, we needed to partner up with people, right? So that's how like the team concept started growing and partnering up with the right people. And now we can fast forward to today, and it's like, that's why we're actually growing the way we're growing so fast, is because we have partnerships with people like Antonio. And what's awesome about partnering up with hyper talent is that you also find other things you like doing, like podcasts, like Failing Adds Up. And as entrepreneurs, you can start investing in lots of things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know he's about to buy his first, like, either duplex or fourplex this year, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a ton of that opportunity that spins off. And I know we've talked about, hey, if bigger opportunities come up, like a 36 unit apartment complex, 48, why not go in on it together, right?
Yeah.
You just went in on an insurance company, right? Yeah. You're about to potentially buy into a mortgage company, right? And all of these opportunities to buy into things that are coming from the ecosystem that we have, because we have such great talent on our team.
So partnerships are key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've always loved partnerships, because, again, he does things way better than I do. And there's some things that he leverages from me, and whether it's talent tools or systems or resources, that's one of the benefits of our team. Like, an agent doesn't have to go out and necessarily hire a full-time salaried transaction coordinator, marketing coordinator, client care coordinator, inside sales agent, runner, none of that, because when you partner up with the team, you have access to everyone.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
So fast forward to today, how's your team doing?
Yeah, we are. So now we're in the top 1% of producers in Iowa, and we're in the top 1% across the United States. So there's National Association of Realtors, which is NAR, and there's the NAREP, which is the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and we're in the top 1% in the country for that as well, which is, where you have a combination of Latinos also that are doing real estate.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. What are your expectations with your group?
To continue to grow together. The industry is evolving really, really quickly. So just like podcasts are becoming relevant, and so are, just social media as a whole, the way real estate is being done differently. It's like everything is about speed, service, and being able to execute, right? Fast. So that's why we're buying into these additional ancillary businesses like mortgage, insurance, to be able to make it the consumer and customer service experience easy. Like
your one-stop shop.
One-stop shop. Yeah.
One-stop shop.
Yep. And then the next big thing is just like my mentor, where I have the most fun is helping young people like Antonio and people on our team, invest in real estate. Like earlier you mentioned, people think they're going to get rich overnight. They're not, right? The best way to eventually build wealth is take all of your active income, because all of us, unless you're a trust fund baby, right?
Yeah.
We all have to generate income. So we all have to put in the work and get money. Yet the mistake most people do in this world is that they don't take their active income and invest it into other vehicles that don't require a lot of their time. So real estate's one of those, where once you invest in it, it doesn't really require much of your time if you're outsourcing the property management and the tenant. And so you could eventually invest enough money to where you have more passive income than you need to be able to live off of. And so that's another philosophy we have on our team that we're hoping to teach others, and Antonio teach others too, on how to eventually generate enough active income to invest into enough vehicles that create passive income that is more than what you need to be able to live off of.
Vehicles. What other vehicles do you have in mind right now?
Businesses, real estate are my biggest ones. I still invest in mutual funds and things of that magnitude. But the biggest ones are businesses and real estate.
Hmm. And you portray that into your team. You want your team to be able to do the same things that you're doing.
Yeah. Like, if I knew what I knew now, I would just buy real estate at a way younger age and get to your freedom number, right? Like, I'm about to hit that here within the next couple of years, as long as God lets me, to where there's enough passive income to where technically I could just walk away from it all if I wanted to. Yet, I don't think I am not that type of person that ever will, just because I need people in my life, and I want to help others do it faster, right? There's even Melanie on our team, right, who's 19, and she closed 18 deals last year, bought her car, paid it off in a year, and is about to buy her first investment property this year.
And also just to, like, give some insight and some perspective, like, what does he mean by, he's wanting to teach other people and trying to teach people on our team. We have a Wealth Builder program that, Junior and Ryan and some of their other partners have put together for us. Like, they don't have to be doing any of this, but they are here to, like, mentor us. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all.
Well, yeah, like, so Antonio, like, I made a ton of mistakes, even through the mentorship of the guys that knew what they were doing in real estate. You still make tons of failures and a ton of mistakes. You do enough deals and you can mitigate some risk, right? But you're never going to always get everything spot on, right? And yet you can still learn a lot. So I told Antonio, like, we're like literally looking at properties on the computer, and he's like, Junior, is this worth looking at? Or like a few weeks ago, I came across a fourplex that someone else had. I'm like, Antonio, go talk to this guy about this fourplex, and like, I want to be there and help him analyze the deal to make sure he doesn't make some of the mistakes I made, or anything that I've learned from my mentors that he learns, so that he doesn't have to lose, money or time or energy making some of those mistakes. And so the Wealth Builder program is about that, is just utilizing the people in our ecosystem to hopefully help the others not make some of the same mistakes that we have made. So another person on our team besides Ryan that helps us a lot with this is Dave. And he owns, at this point, I don't know, over 40 properties. And he will also help Antonio when it's time to officially pull the trigger. And our Wealth Builder Club, not only will they get access to the knowledge of, my business partners and I, who at this point, combined together, we own over 70 doors. We will also, we'll like, we're already doing this for 2 other agents on our team. We'll be like, Antonio, do you just want to use our contractors? Right? Like, do you just want it done for you? Not that you have to, but if you want to, you can, right? It's going to cost a little bit more money, but it'll save you a ton of time and energy. Right?
It's a huge help.
Right? Or he could be like, no, I want to like get my hands dirty and I want to do it myself so I can learn some of those skills, right? And we offer that to people. And so far, our other 2, one of them, Nancy, she bought her first one and she had her contractors just do it, and she fell in love with. Once you buy one, you get the bug.
Yeah.
So she just closed on her second one, and we're rehabbing it for her. Judith, she had her first one. She's doing really well. She just closed on her second one. Her husband is really handy, so he does all the work, but we help her analyze the deal to make sure that it's hopefully the right deal, right, based on our experience and our knowledge. So that's a little bit about the Wealth Builder Club. We see the vision of also eventually like giving access to capital, because those are the 2 things that typically stop people from investing. It's crazy to me that Gary Keller said this on stage, and pretty sure these are the right stats, but real estate professionals, he said, we should be able to tell a real estate professional at what level of professional they are by the amount of real estate that they own, not sell, own. And he said something along the lines of like, less than 6% of the real estate agents actually own a house outside of their own personal house, which is, he's like, this is crazy.
That is a lot of people.
That don't own investment properties, right? So anyhow, eventually we want to give people access, because the knowledge stops people. The who, the what, the where, the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and then the money, right?
Yeah.
So we want to hopefully create a fund to help with the money part of it too in the future for our IRG Wealth Builder. So that's also part of the future.
That's a lot of different things coming for IRG.
Yeah. And it's all because of failure, right? Which is why we're having everything I just talked about is business. And I like it, and you need business, and I'm more passionate about the people that are part of the business than the business themselves, because I just like people. Like I said, I don't make my decisions based on money. It's more of like, who am I on this journey with? When Antonio came up with this concept, he was doing it, and then, this kind of came to life just because we wanted to do it kind of in the entrepreneurial world and whatnot. And we're like, who talks about failure all the time, right? That's what you were asking. And then this came to life, and I'll be honest, everything else is super cool, yet this is fun. This is fun, right? So that's how, I don't know, Antonio, you want to hit on like how this came to life and what's happening now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we started to partner up on real estate and, just spending time at the office, hanging out, stuff like that. And we did find that we do have really similar interests, similar values and all that. And yeah, essentially just through conversations, it's like, now that I'm in this world, I do see like the behind the scenes. Cause again, I was always intaking and indulging in like watching motivational content and stuff like that. And I've just always seen that from a young age, but I've always seen the butterflies and sunshine and rainbows and all that, right? Being in the world, I was like, wow, this is like, I didn't know it was like this. To an extent I did, right? So yeah, that's where we were like, well, let's just put the content out. Let's push it out. Let's see how it goes. I mean, we do have a lot of connections, especially Junior being in the real estate industry for quite some time now. We knew we could tap into some very highly successful individuals. So from there, we started working on, I think we came up with the name. Yeah, we for sure came up with the name first and then worked around that with like the logo. But it was the premise of it, if you take a look at the logo, it's a mountain, right? Because the way we like to think about it is like the failures add up, right? Like think about one little failure, then a second failure, and then a third and a fourth. And they're slowly adding up into you actually reach that like pinnacle of success. So we're like, let's put a mountain and like it's climbing the mountain, right? Climbing the mountain of failure until you actually reach it. And, it's been an amazing journey. It has been a lot of failure throughout the journey, just learning. I mean, we both don't really have a lot of background when it comes to audio and stuff like that, but we were blessed that we actually were able to connect with one of Junior's childhood friends who helped us set up the podcast, like what equipment to get and all that. And then from there, we started to really just wing it and just kind of see what could happen from it. And now we have officially recorded about 12 episodes. We actually did a whole launch party. You guys were there, Sebastian and Leslie, so shout out to you guys for coming out and supporting that. So, that was just really cool to be working on it. And one thing that we learned quickly is, again, Junior has always said, like, if you're the smartest person in the room or get those partnerships of people who can help you, leverage that. The editing piece, that takes so much time and it's so detailed. And what we found out, we ended up actually leveraging it, and this is where like all the cool connections come. For me, it's like that's one thing I've seen with real estate is like there's all these different types of connections, and it's all like full circle moments. It's crazy how it happens. But we do have a full-time editor for the podcast, which is Dave Ferris's son, who is one of our business partners on Team IRG, who helps us out with investments and stuff like that. So he's a full-time editor. That he's been a super huge help. So I do want to give a shout out to Tyler Ferris for helping us edit all the episodes. And we've interviewed like I said, 12 people, from CEOs, millionaires, people in the mortgage industry, voice actor who has done promo work for Telemundo, Univision, and just a bunch of different individuals in different spaces. And that was the other thing too. We wanted to not just interview people in real estate. We wanted to interview successful people in all these different spaces.
we're talking about learning. So I personally learn from the people that I bring in here. So asking questions and asking them how they did the things that they did wrong, right? What are, maybe mention 3 things that you have learned from the people that have been on your show?
Um, one of them is, I remember there was this one time where we were trying to it was like the beginning of like the journey of recording, and I remember we were like messing with like audio and like trying to figure out like, okay, set up the mic here, can you hear me, like, just kind of messing and getting everything ready. And I remember like during that time, like they just whipped out their laptop and they were just like putting in work, and like they were nonstop, like texting, phone calls, texts, like working on their laptop, reading emails and stuff. And I remember after the episode, I asked them, I'm like, you really like don't take any moment to like just sit and chill. They're like, no, like I'm in my work day. Like if I have 5-10 minutes, like I'm gonna try to find something to do. Like no matter what, like I'm just working on so much that I'm gonna like they were not wasting any time. That was one for me. And then even just learning about people's habits and like their daily routines and like what they implement into their life to be able to do what they are doing.
What are some common habits?
Waking up early, right? I mean, we know people who wake up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And, most of the people that do wake up early, either they do like some form of meditation. And if it's not meditation, they'll either, they'll work on their health. And that's been a huge thing for Junior and I, is like, we've been saying like health is wealth, right? And just focusing on your health. For me, like, I don't want to be the fittest person in the room. Like, I don't have to look all bulked up. I just want to like be healthy in general, right? So that's a very common thing, is like waking up early, making sure you're being active in some way, whether that's yoga or lifting weights or, whatever it is, CrossFit. Yeah, I mean, those are like the main ones that stick out to me.
Interesting. Well, I do want to touch on one last thing before we part ways, and that is your recent interest in commercial real estate. Where do you see that going? What are your predictions for the future?
Yeah, so as the team has grown, I've been able to kind of step back into more leadership and mentorship roles. So I stepped out of production right when COVID hit, in order to hopefully just pour more into my team and my partners. And a huge shout out to Team IRG. Like it's awesome to have the partnerships that we have, which is everyone on our team. It's so awesome. And so, as the team evolved and we've been able to add more systems, more tools, more talent, more time, more money, more energy into the ecosystem, a lot of things have happened. So one of those has been the instant offer division of our team, which is what's actually helping the IRG Wealth Builder Club grow too, and also benefits our sales agents too. We offer cash offers to every single seller in the market, and we do it, I think, in a good way, in the fact that, unlike maybe some other investors who may not have this option, like maybe another investor who is not a licensed real estate agent, they're just like, here's my cash offer, and that's it. Well, the way we do it is we say, here's our cash offer, or here's what you can list it for on the open market and make $20,000 or $30,000 more, right? So, and then we say, you pick what's best for you financially.
What is that conversation like? Because people don't understand that cash today is more than cash tomorrow.
Yeah. So we say more along the lines of like, you can have the convenience of a cash offer. We're buying it as is. You have no cost involved in the sale of the transaction and no inspections whatsoever. And we can close as fast as 2 weeks, or you pick your date. So you have the convenience of, we buy it as is, no inspections. You pick your date, and that's the convenience of fast, right? And cash, no inspections.
And just to kind of talk about that, like, what do you mean? Like, how do we present that? It's like when we're doing a listing appointment with a client, we're showing those options. We're going down the lines in detail. Like, these are the differences. we're buying it on cash. So we want you to know, like, we're being transparent about all of it.
Yeah, but cash, maybe it's just a me thing, but understanding the value of cash today and cash in 1 year, it took me, like, I thought I figured it out, and I don't know if I still got it, because it's so hard to understand that $1 today is less in the future. And people that don't have real estate backgrounds are going to have a hard time trying to understand that, unless they really want to dial it down.
Yeah. Yeah, the best way to like kind of give it a different light, I guess, for even right now, right? Since you're talking about the time value of money, essentially, is just the fact that, eggs you could buy for 99 cents a year ago, right? 12 pack of eggs. Right now, what is it running for?
It's like $3
Three?
to $5,
Right? So
Yeah.
so the dollar doesn't travel as much, right? You could have bought 36 eggs, last year, a couple of years ago. Now you can only buy 12 with the same dollar amount, right? So there's that aspect of money for sure. And so in our cash offer program, it's more along the lines of like, do you want the convenience of cash, like quick close, or do you want the convenience of more money in your pocket? And if you want more money in your pocket, list it. We tell them, like, list it,
Yeah.
put it on the open market.
And it might take a little bit longer to
Yeah.
close. It might, you still have to do an inspection. Like, it's, again, the convenience or the flexibility of, like, depending on your situation, like, what makes more sense for you.
Right, and it's individual for everybody. I'm sure that
Yeah.
there's going to be people that are going to love that offer.
And,
Yeah.
like, just to give an example, like, I helped a family where they had 3 kids, and they were expecting for triplets.
Wow.
Yeah, going from 3 to 6 kids. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so he's like, I needed to sell this yesterday. So, because of their situation, it gave them that flexibility of like, okay, so we can close whenever you want, like whatever makes most sense. So that's where we were able to line up the purchase of their new home with the sale of their current home. Because if you were to put it on the open market, like, well, we still have to do showings. Once we get the offer, we have to negotiate the offer, inspections, and then your typical, like, 30 to 45 day closing. So it really gave them that flexibility, gave them that freedom, or almost like that weight off their shoulders. Like, okay, so we know, and we told them, like, this is what your property is worth, so that number. And it gave them that flexibility of being like, okay, well, I don't have to stress out about the sale of the home now. I just need to find the new one.
Okay, I could see that helping a lot of people.
Yeah, some of the people that will take cash, or it could be all types of scenarios. Yet some of the ones that will, because it's more convenient just to sell it and just move on with their life, or I call it the 5 Ds of real estate: death, divorce, destruction, high debt, or diapers. Right? So his situation was the diaper scenario, right? New kids on the way. So when you asked about commercial, so that's one kind of that kind of crosses that commercial boundary to some extent. It's a solution in the residential world right now. Yet, we end up buying it, rehabbing it, and we either turn those properties into rentals or we sell them as flips after we fix them up. And now in the commercial world, we have our new business partner, Manny, who helps with that on the commercial world, and that is more on the lines of like working in industrial buildings, retail buildings, restaurants, multifamily, things of that magnitude, and that's starting to kind of take off as well. So a lot of good stuff happening here in the Des Moines metro area for sure.
Talking about that, I've heard recently that you have a leadership role for the city. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I was nominated to be part of the Polk County Housing Trust Fund.
What does that mean?
Essentially, they help with just making decisions of routing some of the state funding out into the community to help those that might need some additional help, whether it's in the housing sector, health and whatnot, in order to help our community, right? And so I'm still new to it. So I'm still kind of learning the dynamics of it all. Yet we get to kind of make decisions on maybe this money can go into this development or this community to hopefully help some of the lower or medium household income people get into housing, whether it be rentals or home ownership and things of that magnitude. So that's and I'm one of the first Latinos, from what I was told, we still need to fact check this, but I was told I'm one of the first ever Latinos on a Polk count or on the county board, which is kind of cool and sad a little bit at the same time, but at the same time cool to be able to hopefully be a small voice or a big voice for our Latino community here in Polk County.
And what is it that you would like Des Moines to know?
You know, the fact that Latinos, there's a lot of Latinos in the United States. The statistic I think is 70% of all first-time home buyers will be of Latino or Latino descent by 2030.
2040, I think.
Is it 2040?
It's 2040, yeah. We
Okay.
talked about that on the last episode,
In
right?
his podcast, yeah. And that you can find that stat on narrep.org, that we talked about earlier. They have a lot of cool stats there. And even in the Des Moines public school system, I think the stat is 30 or 35% of the Des Moines public school system is Latino. So those are kids in school. So that usually means that, 30 to 35% of the whole population, once they become adults, will also be Latino, right? Like 'cause they grow up to be adults.
Yeah.
So that is one of the reasons I wanted to, give back a little bit more to the community. Now that people will actually listen, because they're like, oh, you're someone that is actually like doing good business and doing big things in the Des Moines Metro. So, you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk, right? And so, and I can talk from a perspective of not only Latino, but growing up here as an American, and also from a real estate perspective.
That's how you relate it.
Yeah.
What do you think about the outsiders, the cities that are growing at such a fast pace?
Yeah, I mean, if you really look at least I can speak to the Des Moines Metro area, because I don't know much about other cities, but Des Moines Metro, everything is hyper local. The economies of scale, right? Everything's hyper local, so it's like you look at numbers because numbers don't lie, right? And so in Des Moines, the real estate market is great in Des Moines, right? Yes. Pricing has gone down. Like we have, for anyone that's interested in Des Moines market stats, go to Team IRG on YouTube and subscribe there. You'll see a lot of his content around education around real estate. And then I do a once a month video with two of my partners, Anthony and Ryan, around just market numbers, so like Des Moines Metro. And so you'll see that pricing has gone down over the last few months, month over month. But when you go year over year, the pricing is still up, So yes, month over month pricing's down, which is good because the last 2 years, year over year, pricing has gone up anywhere from 14 to 20%. So that's 28 to 40% an increase over 2 years. That's not sustainable. That is not sustainable. So now it's normalizing. That's the word I like to use, normalizing. It's going back to normal, which is kind of in that year over year. Home pricing is going up 4 to 6%.
So we pretty much had a correction, not decrease in prices.
Yeah, correct. Everything is going back to like what we like to call pre-COVID. All right, that's how I like to call it. Pre-COVID numbers, like the number of transactions are kind of going back to those numbers, and the year-over-year prices, which is good for real estate because again, you can't have 20 to 40% year-over-year increases because then no one will be able to afford a home if that continues to happen.
And not that you're a wizard, but what do you expect the real estate market to go to? What do you think this year is going to hold?
This year, I've already seen it. A lot of people have already given up on being real estate agents and gone back to get a job. A lot. And that's because they don't live the world that we live in, where we get up and we get to work, right? As a team, because energy creates energy, right? And so whenever we get an appointment on our team, and by get an appointment is we found someone that raised their hand that needed our help and wants to have a consultation with us at no cost to them. And we hit the gong and everybody claps in our office, right? And we have music blaring and we have lots of fun. when you're around that kind of energy, everyone on the team is also like, I want to go out and find someone that needs my help, right? And so again, a lot of people join real estate or become entrepreneurs for flexibility or this or that. And so I foresee the next year, honestly, unfortunately, more people getting out of the business, which is good for all of us that know how to work, because that means when they get out of the business, that means more market share for us that know how to work, right? And follow the daily habits that actually make people successful.
And
right?
if you look at it like that, that's a benefit to the consumer as well, right? Because if you're having these people leaving the business who aren't treating it as a business, who aren't taking it serious, and those arise who are, like, they already, those people that are staying in it, they have that better service for the consumer, for the client. So that's the way I like to look at it as well.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah. The consumer will get a way better experience from a professional that's actually treating it like a profession, right? Not the agent that's doing 1 to 2 deals a year. You're working with someone like Antonio who's closing 30 deals a year, right? Or other people on our team that are usually on our team, you're closing anywhere from 20 to 50 deals a year, right? So you're working with someone with that level of knowledge and expertise, supported by a whole team of 25 other people, rather than someone that's treating it like a part-time job, right? I always tell people, like, when in the past when I was in production, like, they were interviewing multiple realtors, and I was like, man, ask yourself, like, right, real estate is one of the biggest investments you'll ever make in your life, right? Monetarily, right? And so, for example, say someone wanted to sue you and wanted to take all your money or take you to jail for something you didn't do. Are you going to want to hire the part-time attorney who does 1 case a year? Or are you going to want to hire the full-time attorney who's like winning every case 3-4 times a month, right? Same thing if you ever get sick, right? Like, if you're like, they need to operate on my brain. Do you want the surgeon that does this once every 2 years?
Nope.
Or the one that does this every single week, day in and day out, right? And same thing with one of the biggest investments in your life. Who do you want to work on your behalf, right? A full-fledged real estate team or an agent that has a whole team behind them? Or do you want, and I would literally pull up the numbers in front of them. I'm like, look, here's what my team and I are closing. Here's what we closed last year, over 300 transactions. Here's what we closed in the last 90 days. And then let's go ahead and pull up the other agents' numbers. They closed 2 deals in the last 30 days. We closed 100. Who do you want to work with?
Self-explanatory.
Like, you pick. Right? And usually they're like, yeah, you're right. Go with you guys. So that's what I foresee the real estate industry moving to, is just it becoming actually more, hopefully, it's what I'm seeing, more professional. Like, and like the people that are actually going to be in it are going to treat it like a true profession. Because the last 2 years, you could trip and land on a client. Now that's not the case anymore. You have to get up, get to work, and see who needs help.
There were a lot of buyers.
Yeah.
There was
a lot
harder.
of real estate agents too, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember that stat? It was like, I don't want to butcher
There was
it.
like 2 agents for every house or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So give me 3 main takeaways from what you would like to see other people do in business.
Just apply, like, one is listen to actually put together what your daily habits are, right? Surround yourself by people that want to do what you want to do, and just create energy, right? Like, good energy. Like, if it's about drama or anything else, walk away from it. It's not going to benefit you, right? Create good energy, motivate people, celebrate their wins. You celebrate other people's wins, naturally you'll get wins too. You help others succeed. The more people you help succeed, the more naturally you will succeed. And again, that's just kind of the law of the world, right? You plant something, you water it, you take care of it, it grows. And God says the same thing. The more people you help, naturally, the more you'll get blessed. Those are my 3. What about you, Antonio?
What about you, Antonio?
So remind me on a question.
What are
So my
three main takeaways that you get from what you would like to see people do more in business?
Yeah, I mean, kind of coming from that like integrity piece is like don't do it to benefit yourself. Do it to help others, right? Like if you're in that type of industry where you are helping other people, whether it's taking a financial risk or whatever it is. So, like education, educate them on it, and let them make that best. We always say that on the team, like we want to give you the information so you make the best informed decision, right? The second thing is like for me, it's like what you're saying about partnerships is I know I could do this on my own, but I don't want to. Like, I have so much more fun doing it together, bouncing ideas off each other. Like, again, going back to what Junior is saying is like creating that energy and
With the right people.
You're having fun while you do it, right? Third thing is surround yourself by those people who will improve you, who will make you better, who will be hold you accountable. Like, hey, you said you were going to do this. Why are you doing this over here? Get back on track. Just surrounding yourself by the right people, as Junior says. I feel like I'm just repeating what he says because, like he's always been there for me. He's mentored me, and
well, you are who you hang out with.
Exactly, yeah. And I've always said like I look up so much to Junior because he doesn't only just help me on the business side, but I've learned so many things from him on the personal side as well. And that's why I'm truly blessed, truly grateful for, his mentorship and his friendship as well.
Oh, yeah. And the feeling is mutual. And with Antonio and everyone else on the team, honestly, like there's a lot of people out there. I just had lunch with Roshni, and she's kicking ass, taking names, and Donald's doing great work, and Georgie and Mauro and just Carla and Mariela. Like everyone on our team is just doing such an amazing job out there. You
guys are a success story.
Yeah, and that's because we're not afraid to fail. Like, don't get me wrong. Like every single day, we were just talking about that this morning. Sometimes we don't want to get up and do what we do, but we get up and we do it together.
So,
yeah. That accountability piece is huge. Like it's crazy how much it helps. So, Junior and I, with one of our business partners, we go to the gym at 6 a.m. And dude, when I tell you, like, I wake up sometimes, I'm like, I could sleep a couple more minutes, maybe another hour, maybe 2. And they're already texting me like, Junior, on the way, I'm already driving. Like,
where you at?
And we're like, and Tony, and like for me, that's what helps me. Like again, maybe you don't need that self accountability, that accountability, but I know like my self accountability goes here, and then getting that extra accountability pushes me. So for me, the way I look at it is like, damn it, they're at the gym waiting for me. Like they're already there, relying on me to be there. So I need to be there. So take that inner look into your life and see where you need the accountability, right? Is it at the gym? Is it to study? Is it in your somewhere else in your personal life? Like, don't be afraid to know your flaws as a person. Don't be afraid to know, like, I'm not the best at this, so let me surround myself, or let me, work on this weakness to make a strength out of it.
It's interesting. Accountability. Yeah, I go by that a lot. But that was a lot of information.
Yeah, that was a lot.
This is the longest podcast I've had so far. But it was good. It was good.
We broke a record, Junior.
Hey, let's go.
But all right, I'm not going to hold you guys any longer. It was tons of information. So you're probably going to see it in shorts, so I don't expect you to watch the entire thing. Unless you're interested about real estate and you want to hit the like button and subscribe. And follow Failing Adds Up, because it does.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Thank you so much for the opportunity to tell a little bit of our story. And I agree, that was a long episode, so I probably won't even watch it all. Hopefully you do.
All right. Kick us off with the bye.
All right. Thanks once again for tuning in and watching. Make sure you do like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let us know what you're thinking. how's everything going here with Invest Iowa? You know, what topics do you guys want to see? Is there anything you want Sebastian to hit on, whether that's interviewing a certain person in a different type of industry? Give us some feedback. We'd love to hear it. Thank you for all your support. Make sure you do tune in on Watch Failing Adds Up. Once again, if you want to know a little bit more about our real estate team, check us out, YouTube, Facebook, over at Team IRG. If you want to tune into the podcast, like I said, we're going to be we've interviewed already voice actors, someone who actually does video editing for the Iowa Wolves, which is a NBA G League team. People in the real estate industry, mortgage industry, insurance industry, all types of spaces, all types of different industries and highly successful individuals. So thanks once again. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.